Hello, everyone. I'm putting in the chat before I even get started. I'm going to just say turn on your camera if possible, but also I'd like for you all to add your name, and if you know what UC you're interested in or what major you're interested in, I want you all to go ahead and add that to the chat now, just so I know who I'm talking to and could get a good sense of what you all are thinking about in terms of applying to the UC. So just a quick introduction. My name is Sabrina Johnson-Williams. I am the Assistant Director of Regional Recruitment for UCLA. Fancy name to say that I live in Northern California and I work in Northern California as well in terms of working with you all on your admissions process. So I'm really excited that you all are here today. I'm excited that you all took the time to actually spend a part of your summer. Well, let me back up. Have you started school already? You have not, okay. So that says a lot that you all are spending part of your summer to be here, right? And to get this information before it's even time to start. So I want to just welcome you all to the UC system. I know that I'm representing UCLA, but my background is I've been preparing students for college for about 20 years now, through UCLA, through UC Irvine previously, and with my time in outreach as well. So I want to talk a little bit about UCs and the process of applying to the UC. And I know that personal insight question, part of that application is probably the biggest thing that you all came for. So we're going to spend a significant amount of time talking about the actual, the PIQs. So let's just acknowledge who's in the chat, and you all can direct, I see most of you are direct messaging me, but feel free to talk to the group as well. But I see international relations, I see environmental studies, business major, kinesiology. I see some amazing UCs in here as well. I see cognitive science, bioengineering. Okay, this is a very science-heavy group here, huh? Okay, thank you, history. So looks like some smart people that I have on the call with me today. So hopefully you all will be able to do a little bit of your own research in terms of which UCs offer what in terms of majors. But I definitely want you all to know that we all offer some of the same majors, and it could be slightly different, and then they could be totally different. So I'm going to be a little bit more general today in terms of talking about the UC system in general. And then you're going to have to do a little bit of homework to figure out if the schools that you're interested in actually has your major. So welcome to your future. And know that we're going to be talking about understanding the UC application and admission to the UC system, okay? So I don't know if you all know this, but we are one big institution, okay? We say we are California with 9 campuses, right? That you all can apply to as a freshman. So you will apply with one application and you will choose which school you're interested in. Now, if you're interested in going to the Northern California, the Northern campuses like UC Davis, Berkeley, Merced, Santa Cruz, right? All of these are in your backyard. We like to say, I don't know why Santa Barbara is considered Southern. To me, it's like in the middle. But our Southern California campuses, Riverside, LA, Irvine, San Diego, and of course, UC Santa Barbara. So these will be your choices in terms of where you apply. But I want you all to know that no matter which one you choose, you really can't go wrong because a UC degree is a UC degree, okay? But we do have different environments and different vibes, right? So you really want to do some research on what's the best campus for you. Now, I want you all to put in the chat what you think these mascots or just these pictures have in common. Okay, go ahead and throw in the chat if you see some type of commonalities in this. But these are our mascots, right? And I really want you all to focus on what is your top 4. So we have UC Riverside, UCLA, UC Irvine, UC San Diego, UC Santa Cruz, UC Davis, Cal Berkeley, right? UC Santa Barbara, and UC Merced. So what do you see? Oh, am I not sharing my screen? Oh my God, you guys let me get that far. Thank you for letting me know. Oh boy. Okay, and we're recording this, aren't we? Okay, can you all see the screen now? Yes, no?
Yes, we see
Yes.
it.
Okay. Oh, that was just a really nice intro that y'all got with no visuals, huh? Okay. So let me back up then, because I'm just going through, what happened is I started sharing my screen. I mean, I put it on slideshow before we started and forgot to share. So what you missed, you didn't miss much actually, visually. But you did miss this map, and I think that this is really important for you all to see in terms of how the UCs are split up in California, right? As I said, you can't go wrong with any of them, but this is the breakdown of how the schools are split up, okay? Now, in terms of commonalities, these are all of our mighty mascots, okay? But if you see something that's in common, go ahead and put that in there. And I feel like you all are already on track with what you've said. So yes, we are all blue and gold. We have the same colors, okay? If you didn't know that. We are all some version of blue and some version of gold is our school colors, because we really are one institution in 9 different locations. Now, do we fight about who has the best mascot? Absolutely, okay. I did not finish giving you my background, but I'll tell you all that I did go to UC Irvine. I am an anteater, zot zot. And we are very prideful. We were very prideful about being anteaters. UC Santa Cruz banana slugs are very prideful about being banana slugs, right? So your mascot is definitely going to be your mascot, but your colors, well, they match all the different UCs. So yes, we are all blue and gold. Now, what I was saying is I want you all to consider what is your top 4. Looking at this list, I want you to put in the chat and tell me what your top 4 would be. So in an ideal world, we would all apply for these colleges for free, right? And if we did, or if we got a fee waiver, the fee waiver would pay for four UCs. So I want you all to always start with at least 4. And then in terms of payment, work down from there. What are the top 4 or the top 3 that I want to apply to? Do not only apply to one of our universities, okay? Don't only apply to one, make sure that you are applying to more than one, preferably 3, 4, right? Of one of the UCs. And I say that because we all have the same requirements that I'll go over. However, we do all have different admit rates, and you know, okay, we got 4 top dream schools. I love it. So I want you all to consider these 4 in thinking about what I'm talking about, okay? All right, so when you are choosing a campus, you want to think about the majors. Do we have what you are interested in? You want to think about the resources and support. You also want to think about the campus environment and what's best for you. I'm going to add on the weather, right? I am a SoCal girl, so when I got to Sacramento, and I live in Sacramento, you all, when I got to Sacramento, I was like, why is it so hot here? I don't understand what's happening. Or why does it rain all the time? Because in SoCal, it doesn't rain very much, right? So, you know, you definitely want to think about the environment. You know, UC Santa Cruz is a beautiful campus. There's trees everywhere, right? The beach, if you want to be by the beach, Santa Barbara is an amazing place to be if you want to be right there by the ocean, or San Diego. So you really want to think about what the environment is like, not only on campus, but around the campus as well, and what you'll be comfortable with in terms of applying. And I love that in the chat, I'm seeing so many different UCs, and you all really are thinking outside of the box. Now, I know you pulled out a piece of paper, a pen and a paper. So I'm going to give you one quick note that you're not going to find on these slides. When you're applying, we want you to apply broadly. Okay. So when I say that, that's based on the number of applications that we get. So your schools that are going to be a little more competitive to get into possibly will be UCLA, San Diego, and Berkeley. Okay, we get the most applications in the UC system. It's not necessarily that it's harder to get in, it's just more students applying to get in, right? So that makes it a little bit harder only because we have more to consider in terms of that application process. It doesn't make the requirements different. Your next tier, and when I say apply broadly, I want you to think about applying in all these tiers. So your next tier is going to be UC Davis, UC Santa Barbara, UC Irvine, right? That's going to be your next tier of places to apply. Your next tier is going to be UC Riverside, UC Santa Cruz. It's going to be your next tier. And then UC Merced as well, okay? So when you're applying broadly, pick between all of those, okay? I know that I saw in the chat somebody said, my dream schools, I'm only applying to those, right? Well, apply to those, but also consider some in the other areas as well, if your dream school composed of just those 3 campuses. All right. So let's talk about actually applying. There is one application for all of the UCs. The fee did go up this year, so it will be $80 per UC campus that you apply to. As I said before, if you are qualified for a fee waiver, then it will pay for up to 4 schools. And on the UC application, you'll be able to find out if you are qualified for that fee waiver right on that UC application, okay? It'll tell you right away if you're qualified based on you putting in your family information. Now, in terms of majors, what's going to be different on that application is you're going to put the school and the major and the alternate major that you're interested in. And that's going to be the only difference in applying to the different schools on the UC application. Otherwise, we all see the same thing, and there is no difference in what you're applying. Now, of course, some of us have what we call our specialty schools or professional schools. And for those particular areas, you may have to do a supplemental application, and that's going to go directly to that school. So I'll give you an example. School of Nursing. UCLA and UC Irvine are the 2 campuses that if you want to go into nursing, you'll be able to apply to one of those 2 schools. For UCLA, there is a supplemental application. So that application is going to go directly to that school, and the School of Nursing is going to evaluate your application in addition to admissions. So those will be the only exceptions in terms of a separation in your application, but otherwise it's going to be all 9 campuses. Well, all the campuses that you apply to will see the exact same thing. Now, what is it to apply to the UC? In terms of the application, we're going to ask you for your academic history. Your grades will be self-reported, so we're not going to ask you for any transcripts or anything like that. Self-reported information. There's going to be a section on activities and achievements. Inside the classroom, outside the classroom, there's going to be a section on the personal insight questions, which we'll talk about in a moment. And as I said before, there will be a supplemental application if you're applying to those particular schools. Now, I'm starting off pretty early saying this, but we will not consider the SATs or the ACTs for admissions or scholarship purposes. I know y'all don't believe me, so go ahead and shake your head. I don't believe you, but we really will not see them, okay? So I'm not saying don't take them. What I'm saying is there are schools that will require them that you may be applying to, right? Maybe some private schools, maybe some out-of-state schools. But for the UCs, we really won't see that information. Now, this is your timeline, and let me be correct. This is all seniors, correct? Okay, so application opened, what, 11 days ago? 10 days ago? It's time to apply, okay? It's time to apply. So your UC application opened August 1st. You have until November 30. So any time between October 1st and November 30th, you can press that button and press submit. We don't care if it's at the beginning. We don't care if it's at the end. Doesn't matter to us. Our campuses are only going to get the information after November 30th. Okay. So this is for this is for that one application. Wherever you say you're going to apply to, they're going to send us your application. Our particular schools that you put in that application, we're going to individually get your applications. So we won't know if you applied to Irvine or if you applied to Merced. We only know that you applied to us, okay? However, your application is going to the UC application, what we call UCOP, UC Office of the President. So take your time. You have from August 1st all the way to November 30th to submit that application, or October 1st to November 30th to actually submit the application, but to work on it, August 1st to November 30th. Now, I will say this, do not wait till November 30th. And I don't know if I could get close enough for you all to see my eyes get big when I say that. Okay. Do not wait until November 30th at 11:59 to press that button. Okay. In the years that I've been doing this, I know students they get nervous and they don't want to submit something wrong and they wait. I'm not going to say anything is going to happen to the system, but just imagine if 100,000 students submitted on the same day, what could happen, right? So give yourselves a slightly higher deadline. My deadline for you all would be whenever your Thanksgiving break is. Before you eat turkey or chicken or ham or tamales or whatever you eat for Thanksgiving, submit your application before that. That is Sabrina's personal deadline. And you'll have the support before that as well, because your counselors are going to be chilling and enjoying their vacations or their days off, right? Not thinking about y'all. So I just suggest that you all do the same for yourself and enjoy your breaks. Now, I see there are questions that are coming in, and I do want to answer this one. Do the dates change every year? No, the dates are the same every year. So 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders will have the same exact deadline. And this was the same deadline for last year's group as well. And in terms of the supplemental applications, all the supplemental applications will have a different deadline that is put on by that department at that school. So you will have to keep track of those different deadlines at the different campuses. UC Irvine, a specific question came in about UC Irvine and their nursing program. They no longer have a supplemental application, or at least last year they did not. But I will have you do your own homework in making sure that they don't have that this year as well. Okay. Okay. And I'll come back to the other questions in just a moment. But in terms of your deadlines, financial aid, their priority deadline is between December and March 2nd, and that just makes you eligible for all the state aid, maybe some scholarship opportunities. Financial aid is an ongoing process. So you want to submit that first application at least by March 1st. I say get it done in December, right? Or January, but it is by March 1st. Now, in March is when you're going to get all your decisions from us. Yay, nay, wait list, whatever that may be. We want you all to be patient because you'll get those decisions in March. And then by May 1st is when we are going to ask you all to let us know which one of our campuses, if you come to a UC campus, will it be. Okay, that'll be your SIR, Statement of Intent to Register deadline. Now, remember earlier I told you all we don't want paper, we don't want transcripts from you all. The application is self-reported information. Well, we will want the official final transcript saying that you graduated and that proving that everything you put on that application is true. And that'll be due by July 1st, okay? Now, let's talk requirements really quickly. There's only 2 requirements to get into the UC system. 1, you have to complete your A through G requirements, at least 15. 2, you have to have a 3.0 GPA or higher. That is the UC requirements. Does that seem simple? Thumbs up if that's simple. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Y'all know how to use those, right? Okay, there we go. There's the thumbs. Let me know because I'm going to further explain if you don't get it. So, and that lets me know you're paying attention too. So go ahead and give me those thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay, all right. So basically, that's it. There's no test. Did you do the classes and did you get a C or better in those classes? And did you get at least a 3.0? Now, in terms of breaking down this information, the A through Gs, I know your counselors have drilled this into you at all of your schools. I know you see them posted in your career centers or your college and career centers. These are the A through G requirements, and these are the minimum requirements. Of course, we're asking you all to do the recommended. So one thing that I'll say is you're all starting your senior year this year. Don't skip out on being competitive, okay? So don't take 2 classes and go home for the rest of the day. We want to know that you all are like preparing yourselves for college, okay? But sometimes all you need is English and history to graduate, right? Or English and government or something to graduate. So just make sure if you're applying to UC that you are doing these requirements and you're going above and beyond. Now, in terms of the GPA, and let me go back, in the A through G requirements, you have to have a C or better in those requirements, okay? That is one of the requirements to get into a UC. In terms of your GPA, that 3.0 GPA must come from 10th and 11th grade only, okay? So 9th grade, do those classes count? Yes, they do, because the classes is a part of the requirements. But does that GPA count 9th grade? No, it does not. 12th grade, does your classes count? Yes, they do, because you have to complete the A through G requirements. But does that GPA count? No, it does not, because you won't have a GPA because you're applying at the beginning of your senior year, okay? So what you did in 10th and 11th grade is what creates this UC GPA. But what you do your senior year classes will get you in, and those grades will keep you in to your campuses that you are admitted to. Now, there's a difference between minimum requirements and selection. So the minimum requirements is your A through G requirements, your GPA. That is consistent for all of our campuses. The selection part is a little bit different. So we do what we call a comprehensive review or a holistic review. And these are all the different pieces that we are looking at or considering for that holistic or comprehensive review. So in terms of a question that came in, is the GPA 10 to 12 or 9 to 12? And the answer is that it's 10th and 11th, okay? Great question, and thanks for letting me clarify. Okay, so comprehensive review, we're looking at you as a whole. We're looking at all your academic achievements. We're looking at all of your individual achievements. We're looking at your activities. We're looking at your awards. We're looking at everything about you. And every campus is different in terms of how we score. And I can tell you all, UCLA gives 1 score for all of it. There is no academic score and activity score, right? We're giving you 1 score for all of these things put together. And for all of us, multiple readers will review your application, just so it's not just one person, like it's not one person making a decision, yes or no. We are taking the time to review your application, and then it goes on from a process from there. So you will be scored by a human being, a counselor, an admissions rep, a professor. We have all kinds of people who read with our admissions offices in terms of your comprehensive review process. But it is our philosophy to give you all a thorough, individualized approach and a holistic approach in that application. Now, I do want you all to either take a picture of this or take note of these categories, because this is the sections that you'll be able to pick for your activities and award sections. So we are asking you all to give us up to 20 different things that you've done with your life between 9th and 12th grade. And these are the categories. So I want everything that you've done with your life, I want you to like make it fit somewhere, okay? Whether it's an award, an activity, maybe it's a educational preparation program. Maybe you went to a summer camp in the summer to prepare yourself for college. So, you know, anything that you've done, and that's why I said I'm really impressed that you all are on here. It's 86 of you all on here right now. That is really exciting when you could just be chilling right now, okay? So know that everything that you do matters and counts. If it's a course you took that doesn't count in the A through G, throw it on there. If it's a volunteer work or community service, throw it on there. If you got paid for what you did, throw it on that application. We want to know the time frame that you did it. We want to know the description of what you did. Maybe you had a leadership opportunity. You want to actually start off talking with that. Maybe you, you know, you did this for 4 years. So we're actually asking for the time frame that you did it as well. Was it only 9th grade? Was it 9th, 10th, 11th? Or is this something you're going to continue to do after you graduate from high school? Is it 12th and beyond? So you'll have the opportunity to mark the time frame, the hours per week, the weeks per year, the description, and the name of whatever it is that you're talking about. And as I said, these are going to be the categories, and you have up to 20 spaces to do that. Now, the next part of that application is going to be the personal insight questions. So there are 8 questions total. We want you all to respond to 4. Give me a thumbs up if you already started your PIQs. Oh boy, that's like 1 thumb right there. Okay, I got work to do then, huh? All right, so this is going to be an important topic, I see. Okay, so, okay, let's talk then, right? I do have quite a few slides on this area, so, you know, we'll be good. Now, let me answer this question, though, that came in. And the question was, can we only explain our activities and awards in our essays? No, you'll have the more opportunity to expand in your personal insight questions, but you'll have a description section for all of the activities and awards. There is a section for every single one of them for you to describe what you did or whatever it is you want to say about those activities. There's a description section for each of those. So make sure you utilize that. Now, if you want to talk further and go beyond that, then feel free to use the PIQs in that scenario. Okay, all right. So let's talk PIQs. 8 questions, respond to 4. They all are of equal value. Now, you don't have a lot of time. So the max is 350 words to respond to each question. So we want you to focus on your content, not necessarily the style of writing, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but more or less answer the question. I want you all to say out loud to yourself right now, like literally say it out loud. I want you to say, this is not an essay. If you were in person, I will make you say this really loud, okay? This is not an essay, y'all. This is a response to the questions. Do I care if you can put that period in the right place? Well, yeah, I kind of care about that. But do I care if your commas or your semicolons are in the right place? Do I care if you have like the right structure of an essay? We don't care about any of that. We want a response to these questions to give us an opportunity to learn more about you. It's simple. It's that simple, okay? So I want you all to not think in minds of, oh, I got to write the perfect essay, because that's what you do in your English class, and that's not what we're looking for. We just want a response to the PIQ. So everybody say it again, not an essay. All right, perfect. Okay, so in terms of the PIQ basics, there's literally 3 things that I want you all to think of as a purpose, or 4 things that I want you all to think of as the purpose. Number 1, it's our only way to set you apart. This and your activities and awards set you apart from all the other students applying. It makes you an individual, okay? Number 2, it actually completes your application. So if you don't turn in the PIQ, it's not a complete application. So don't leave it blank. Don't put 2 sentences in and be done with it, okay? really use this opportunity to provide context, because that's the other purpose. It provides context to who you are, what your life is like, what have you chosen to do during your time in high school. This is your way of explaining those things and just telling us what they are. And then also it encourages self-advocacy. This is where you become your own cheerleader, okay? Somebody got to pat you on your back. Why not be you who do it? A lot of times we get letters of recommendations, and your teachers and counselors have amazing things to say about you all, but we can't use them in the UC admissions process. You have to advocate for yourself, okay? So when y'all send me this nice email from your teacher, I can't do anything with it, okay? I can't connect it to your application because that's not how the process works. All I can go by is what you put in your application. So I need you to be your own cheerleader. I need you to be your own coach. I need you to have main character energy, right? Like I'm the main character of this story. I need you to do all that in your PIQs when you're responding to these questions. Now, grades and courses are going to help us understand how you work in school, but the PIQs will help us understand how you think, okay? And there is a difference there in terms of the grades you're getting versus how you think and the things that you've chosen to do with your time in the process. So what are we using these things for? We're using them for selection purposes. We're using them for scholarship purposes. We're using them as clarification. There was a question in the chat. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. But there was a question earlier in the chat about like explaining stuff in the PIQs versus in the activities section. Well, this is clarification, right? This can be used for clarification. So if you want to explain something that you talked about in the activities, go for it, right? This is your opportunity to talk more about it. But, you know, if there's a question in your application somewhere and we never get an answer, then we're just left wondering. So sometimes you can use the PIQs just to clarify and explain certain things. And also the additional comment sections, you can do that as well. Now, I'm gonna just pause because the question came in, like if you're applying to a competitive major, how heavily should you think about like writing these PIQs? If you're applying to a competitive major, it's just as important, right? To respond to these PIQs the same way if you're applying to what you would deem as a less competitive major. And I say that because for UCLA, like I said, we're going to give you 1 score total. You're not going to get a score on your grades only and then on the PIQs or the activities or everything else. You're going to get 1 score total. So you could be the smartest kid in the world and everything else is like blah, right? You cannot get in. It's possible, right? So you want to make sure that you're really making sure that you're paying attention to all the parts of the personal insight questions, of the application, of the activity section, of the grades, the academic section as well. Great question. Okay, so I want everybody to say the word context out loud as well. So context. I know it's weird, it's just a word, but in terms of us admissions officers, we are looking for context. If your PIQ says absolutely nothing and we learn nothing about you, then it was a waste of you taking the time to write it, okay? So context is key. And we don't compare student to student. We are really looking at your individual experiences in your environment, okay? We are not at a table going, let me look at Janelle and, you know, and like, let's see which one I like better. We're not doing that. So make sure that you all are you know, really putting your heart in your writing, in filling out this entire application. Now, the purpose of the PIQ is number 1, to tell your story, to talk about what's important to you. We want to know how you think, right? Your grades and courses are going to help us. They're going to help us with all that. But, you know, this is really giving us a chance to really get to know you. I have a lot of slides that are kind of saying the same thing, right? Context, your voice, your story, content, We are looking at the content, not the grammar, okay? Now, what the PIQs are not, they are not an audition. They are not an essay, we already said that, and they're not a space for a creative writing to be turned in, okay? Example, and I hope this is not your cousin's PIQ that I'm about to tell you about. I read a PIQ about popping a bubble inside of a bubble, like chewing gum, right? Their talent was they popped a bubble inside of a bubble. Now, all your faces are like, I don't know, what does that even mean, right? Like, they spent years learning how to put a bubble inside of a bubble. Very cute, very creative, right? And they wrote it in a very creative way. For a private school, that would have been great. They would be impressed. For the UCs, we're like, okay, do you help people with these bubbles? Like, we're really trying to get the context of your life and how it relates to your environment, how it relates to your school. How does it relate to something else besides you at home chewing gum all the time, right? So make sure that you all are really using the opportunity to use this space for us to learn something. Now, I'm not going to go through the prompts fully because I know you all are going to see these, but I do want you all to like take note of what these keywords are in these questions, and kind of, you know, just understanding what we're looking for in terms of each question. So there are 8 questions, as I told you all. If this question doesn't relate to you, skip it, okay? Don't feel like you have to answer every single one. You have 8 opportunities, but we only want 4 of them. So I don't want you to write 8 questions. So when we ask you number 1, describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others, helped to resolve an issue or disputes, and contributed to group efforts over time. The key here is leadership experience, right? If you are not talking about leadership and don't have an example of what that leadership is, then you're not answering the question, okay? So this is where you can talk about the time frame. You could talk about how you stepped up as a leader. You can describe your experience. All that is okay. What I will add to this is, how did you learn and grow from this experience, right? You want to kind of think, I know we say not an essay, but you know that whole, is it 6 W's or something? The what, the when, the why, the where, right? The how, I don't know how fits, but it fits, it has a W. All of those, the W's, you want to think of those in terms of writing these responses, okay? So in there somewhere, one of those fit in, the why, the what you're talking about, right? The when you're talking about. So if you want to talk about being a leader or having some type of leadership experience, this is a great place to do that. Now, the question that came in is, how recent does these experiences have to be? We want them, that's a great question. We want them to be within the high school years, okay? Now, if they are not, it's okay if they're not, but I need you to bring it back to your high school years. So if it's something that happened when you were younger, it's totally okay to talk about it because it might have really inspired something in your life, or it has a lot to do with what's happening in your life now, or your major or your future. That's perfectly fine, but related to now some kind of way. So I have a whole top 10 mistakes thing that I talk about, and we won't have time for that, but I'll give you one. My rabbit hopped into a toilet when I was 5, and unfortunately it drowned. And now I want to be a veterinarian. Boom, the end, right? Well, that's very sad, and it really did affect you wanting to be a veterinarian. Now, where's the in-between part, right? Where's the in-between? Did you go volunteer at a shelter, a zoo? Did you, like, is there anything you've done in your life to really show that you really want to be a veterinarian as a result of this experience that happened so long ago? So you want to really make sure that you are making those connections, and you know, the timeline actually exists. Number 2, we are asking you about creativity, okay? So every person has a creative side. How do you express it, okay? Is it through problem solving, original innovative thinking? Is it artistic? Describe how you express your creative side. That is what we are asking for in the second question. as we've named, creativity could come in all types of ways, and it's your interpretation of it, not ours. So think of whatever you feel like you're creative in. You know, you could be a chef, you could cook, you could, you know, sew, you could have a talent that's also considered creative, right? Whatever, it could be your thinking, it could be a sum of anything. So it's your interpretation of these questions. All right, number 3. What would you say your greatest skill or talent is? Okay, what is your greatest skill or talent? How have you demonstrated this talent over time? Demonstration. I need a concrete example for all of these. I need a concrete example of what you are trying to get across, okay? Maybe your skill is that you are very, now I've actually read this and had a student tell me this. They're just a very giving person, okay? And that's a characteristic, right? But to them, that's a skill. I'm very giving. And they told me they would give me the jacket off their back. And I said, oh, that's very sweet. Like if it's raining or I'm cold, and I'm always cold, that's great. And then I asked them, well, are you in a club or something that shows that you're a very giving person? And the answer was no, right? Where's your proof that you are a giving person besides giving me a jacket? So I want you all to think of evidence. What is my evidence of my talent? My evidence of my skill. I played softball my entire life. 6th grade, I sucked at it, okay? I started off, got hit in the head with softball. By 11th grade, I was captain of the softball team, okay? I worked my butt off in this sport. Over time, I've demonstrated my talent by working my butt off, and we went to the championship, or I played against other schools, or I became captain or whatever. So make sure that you all are talking about a talent or a skill and making sure that you're providing some type of evidence of what it is that you're talking about. I'm sorry, I should have showed you this as well. Okay, number 4, how have you taken advantage of a significant opportunity or overcame an educational barrier? There's 2 sides to this question. We're giving you 2 options in answering this question. Either one is fine with us, okay? Educational opportunity or educational barrier. The key here is that it has to be educational. This doesn't have to do with your life in general. This has to do with your educational life, your school life, okay? So, did you have an opportunity? Did you have a barrier? This is your opportunity to talk about how you took advantage of it or how you overcame it, okay? What are the examples of that? Did you do a mentorship program? Were you in a community-based organization? Maybe you were failing all your classes and then you went to some program, or you started doing community college classes, or whatever the case may be. This is not your opportunity to talk about taking APs, okay? This is not your opportunity to talk about like, oh, I just enrolled in honors classes. I want you all to really think about how you had an opportunity and what you did with that, or how this barrier came about and what you did to fix it or help you through it, but it does have to be educational. Okay, number 5. Now this is separate. You have the educational side. This is talking about life, okay? So in life, describe your most significant challenge, how you faced it, what steps you came to overcome it, and did it affect you academically, right? Did it affect your academic achievement? Answer that question, okay? But this is about life. Anything you faced in terms of a challenge in life, then you'll have the opportunity to talk about that. Was there a difficult experience that you've been through? Did it affect your grades? Did it affect you academically? Talk about it. If it didn't affect you academically, don't feel like you have to talk about it, but this is your opportunity to really give us context to what your life looks like. If you're a straight A student, but you've been through some crazy stuff in your life, that's context for me, okay? So make sure that, don't share what you're not comfortable with sharing, but just know that we are interested in your full story, okay? So if you're comfortable sharing your full story, then do so, but don't feel like I have to share something I'm not comfortable with. So I would say go talk to your counselors, maybe talk it through, but know that we are not we're not on the other side going, oh my God, you know, we really just want to know in the light of all your academics, what does your life look like and what's the context of that, okay? Now, the next question is about an academic subject. Is it one that inspires you, right? Has it furthered your interest, whether it's inside the class or outside the class? Maybe your major has come out of this favorite subject. Maybe your career goals have come out of this favorite subject. What sparks your interest, right, to learn in this subject? So it could be traditional subjects, it could be non-traditional subjects, it doesn't matter, but this is an academic question. We get a lot of, I want to be an engineer because I play with Legos essays when I was a kid, okay? And that really does spark a lot of students' curiosity in terms of engineering. Now, fill in some blanks for me between the Legos and you applying to college, okay? Fill in some blanks. What have you done between there? This is where it started. And this is why I'm taking calculus, because I want to be an engineer, right? Because of the Legos, but what happened in between? So make sure that you all are really putting some meat in this particular PIQ. Okay, my last two. Oh, go back, you don't need that one yet. Okay, so number 7, what have you done to make your school or community a better place? You all have a whole activity section, and I know you all are doing community service, okay? I know you all are doing volunteer work. This is a perfect opportunity, that clarification, right, or context. This is a perfect opportunity to take one of those that you listed and further expand on it, okay? So what have you done at your school to make it better? What have you done in your community to make it better? Was there a problem that you saw? How are you motivated to act, right? This question to me fits perfectly with the rest of your application in terms of talking about the impact that you've had either on your school or your community and being able to provide an example of that. And then the last question, which kind of is my favorite, but then, you know, it used to be my favorite, meaning I hated it, okay, before. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. Because I felt like students would be like, I'm just great. And then they wouldn't say anything else, okay? So let me tell you what the question says first. Beyond what you've already shared in your application, what do you think makes you, what do you believe makes you a strong candidate for admission to the UC, right? I learned to actually like the question, but when I first read it, and I was like, oh no, they're gonna waste their time on this question. But now I understand there is no wasting on this question because you really can provide some stuff in here. If there's anything that just doesn't fit in those other 7 questions that we gave you, this is where you're gonna put that information, okay? If there's any questions that comes up in your application, this is where you're gonna put that clarification and respond, okay? Maybe we're looking at some parts and like, you know, you're just like, this really doesn't fit anywhere else. This is where you're gonna do it. This is where you're gonna respond to that or just take the time to talk about it. Can you boast about yourself? Absolutely. In this particular response, absolutely. Just make sure, once again, it has some meat in whatever it is that you talk about in this particular question. Okay, let me put this this code up because I want you all to go ahead and scan this. It is an actual worksheet that should help you all in terms of writing this thing, but I do want to answer some questions that came in too before I do these last few slides. So the question is, do I find it important to relate the PIQs back to your major or what you want to do at your school? Yes and no. So don't feel like you have to talk about your major. If one of the PIQs fit in talking about your major and making those connections, then yes, sure. But if you want to be I don't know, a Nordic studies major, are we looking for you to talk about how you've gone to like Nordic studies events? And I don't like, there's no, it doesn't have to connect. But I feel like you should always connect every response to your future in some way, okay? It could be your major, it could be a career, it could be just some goals you have in the future. I feel like you should be able to make those connections. It could be a club that you want to do when you go to college. It could be that you want to study abroad when you go to college. I feel like you can make those connections. Okay. I know that we should talk. If there is something special that you did when you were young, like I said, make sure that you are making those connections to the now. That's going to be really important for you all to do that. Now,
Sabrina,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. I just want to give a 5-minute warning because we have another session at 2. I definitely will have to drop off then, but so maybe just a couple more questions, and then also to respect your time. And I want to let all the students know they can also reach out to me directly if their questions weren't answered.
Can you say it one more time? You froze for me.
Oh, we have another session at 2. So we have to wrap it up, and then students can reach out to me. Okay,
that sounds good. So let me just tell you all, I'm going to show you these tips, okay? And really quickly, just say, you know, I think I've kind of given tips throughout, right? But one of the tips that I want to give is just to write in your natural voice. Don't feel like you gotta make everything smarter, right? Or use somebody else's voice, or write in your parents' voice. Just be you, okay? Make sure you're giving good details in what you're talking about, and write in stages. Don't write all this at once. Write one today. Go back, give feedback, do another draft. Write one tomorrow. Like, make sure that you're not trying to rush and do all this at the last time. And then also just know that there's no perfect response, right, to any of them. The question that I was going to answer was just in terms of topics. Avoid repetition. So you should only have one subject per PIQ, okay? 1 to 2 if they connect, but there should not be more than one subject. Now, anything that you need to clarify or correct, know that there's going to be 2 additional comment sections on that application. One after the academic section, one after the PIQs. So feel free to use those sections to answer anything that you want to answer, but don't use it as like another section for a PIQ. We don't want that, okay? But you will have those 2 additional sections to clarify anything that you need to clarify. So I want you all to get connected with us, okay? So